Hi, everybody. I'm Dana Levinson, and welcome back to AskTheDoctor.com's Health and Wellness series and on the DL. Today, we are hoping to motivate you and inspire you to get moving, and a different kind of movement indeed. This is called yoga. And the founder of Yoga will be joining me momentarily, Janna Webb. And you may know her from The Real Housewives of Toronto. She was on TV a few years ago. A lot of people recognize her name and her face from the very popular TV series, but Janna has an incredible story to tell, one of inspiration, one of motivation, and really I'm so excited to speak with her today because it's not that she's in this fantastic shape, which you will see she is. She brings this life and spirit to wellness that I really haven't had the opportunity yet to speak to somebody like her before. So I'm just waiting for Janna to join. Once she joins, we will be talking all things yoga, and also she's going to be offering quite a bit of her tips of how she's been staying healthy over the last several weeks while she's been in isolation as well. I am on my yoga mat right now. I've been doing a little bit of stretching today, certainly not enough. I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling very sore and achy. I've been doing some of the stretches that Dr. Mike had suggested last week to me, which is fantastic, but it is still. So I'm hoping this may be, I don't want to say the magic bullet, but this just might be something that will help all of us get over to that other side. Janna, there you are. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
How are you? Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm so excited to talk to you.
I know. Well, thanks for having me. A little Instagram
Amazing.
live in the middle of the afternoon.
It's awesome. I know. I mean, that's one of the perks of isolation, right? Like generally you could find people to speak with in the middle of the afternoon. You're not
Right?
really going anywhere, right?
Exactly.
Unless they're teaching live classes, which I know that you've been offering, which is amazing. And we're going to talk about that. You know, a
Cool.
lot of people, when I told them that I was interviewing you, of course, the first thing that comes to their brain is the Real Housewives. So I know it's a claim to fame. And, you know, but I said that's just one component of your story. And really, your story is very motivational and inspiring. So I want to take everybody back just a few years. You finished The Real Housewives of Toronto.
Mhm.
You were traveling in the Dominican. You were there. You were working with a team, I believe.
Yeah, a
So
baseball team, yeah.
a baseball team. So tell us what happened when you were there.
Yeah, so just at this series of events, so I was done training the team and was on my way to back to the airport. And part of my rider and my contract was that I wanted a one-way flight, so I didn't have to fly through Miami. Well, when you go to Punta Cana, the only one-way flights are, or sorry, Dominican, the only one-way flights are to Punta Cana, and I was doing my work in Santo Domingo. So there's a 2-hour car ride there that I learned afterwards is one of the most dangerous highways in the world. Well, yeah, so I ended up getting into a head-on collision. I was hit by a cement truck, head-on, drunk driver. Like if you could pull any piece of like anything tragic in terms of a car accident, all of those things were involved in this awful tragedy. Yeah.
Wow. And you were left with how you were left where were you broken? It was your back?
So
Is
I
that right?
broke, yeah, L1, L2, L3. And which is interesting because that was like the immediate concern, but the long-term challenges have been the concussion and the because of the whiplash and the impact of the car accident. I have a lot of soft tissue damage. So yeah, 3.5 years later, it's crazy that I'm still even, talking about it, but like before COVID, I'm still in rehab 2 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm telling myself like I'm getting better every day, and yeah, I'm getting better every single day.
And
So,
what do you think has been the component or the key component in your rehab and part of this journey for you?
so I think, resilience is the word that keeps coming up. I guess like there was no other option for me. I'm a single mom. I'm a business owner. There was no path just to quit. And so I think a big part of my recovery was just that I just had to move forward with my life. And so I couldn't really even sit in the pain. I couldn't even sit in the tragedy. I just had to think of solutions on how to move forward. And So I think that's a big piece of my recovery story. And I probably would have recovered a lot faster had I taken the time to heal properly, but that just wasn't an option. So.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Heal properly?
I just think like for me, when I got in that accident, I had just invested in $1 million space in Yorkville. I had to build it. I had to open it. I was self-funded at the time, so I couldn't just, sit for 6 months in my bed and heal. I had to work. And so I think that's the stress of that, and understanding what stress does to the body in terms of recovery. I feel like that impeded my process.
And don't you feel that a part of that experience you could bring to this experience for people that are listening to this, that of course this is nowhere near, getting into a head-on
Right.
collision, of course. But for people who feel severely down, really down right now, and physically feeling unwell because they've been sitting too much, they're lying around too much, they're not in their routine as much, whatever that level is for them, listening to you saying that it really wasn't an option, right? That you had to get better, that you had to stay fit. I think there's a real message there for people. It's very inspiring to hear that, from people in all different stories.
Totally.
It's not COVID, of course, but it's an accident. It's very different, but it's still in that vein that, people are very down right now and feeling, I can't believe there's another week of this. I can't believe I'm stuck in my house and I can't get to my gym. So, what are some of the things or some tips that you've been telling people these last couple of weeks?
Yeah, and I guess it always is going down to the understanding of it, right? So everyone's in survival mode right now, and that was the mode that I was in after my accident. And the brain doesn't know any different. It doesn't know, oh, you were hit by a cement truck and you're in survival mode because you're stuck in your house, right? The brain interprets stress as stress, right? So, and what stress does is we end up living in our reptile, like in the back of our brain, and we live in that function of survival, which means we don't make healthy decisions. We're panicked. Our heart rate is up. We don't sleep, and so, and that's a very real thing for a lot of people right now. They're stressed about finances. They're stressed about not having a job, or if they're going to have a job, they're stressed about their kids. Like, the list goes on. Right. And so,
are you saying that stress actually almost defines us, and then we end up not making the right choices? So we're putting the wrong food into our mouths. We're not moving the way we should, or stretching the way we should, or breathing the way we should.
Right. And well, the thing is you could be doing all those things right. You could be eating well right now, and you could be moving, but you still might be feeling awful just because of stress. And so what we talk about, and the most important thing that I teach my athletes and teach people in general, is how to combat that stress through activation of the parasympathetic nervous system, through right brain activation. And we can utilize this through breath work. Like all of the tools, we harness all of these tools within ourselves, but sometimes people just don't know how to, or what tool that is. So
maybe you can tell me a bit about yoga.
Yeah. So God, where do I start? I always have like 30 seconds sometimes to like tell this story, and it's so hard to explain. Sorry. I'm like, I know I was on a call with the Clippers this morning, and literally it was like, it's that 5-minute pitch, right? Like that's, but I got, the LA Clippers, the basketball team. Yeah.
That's what I thought you said.
Yeah.
Clippers.
Yeah.
Oh, just them.
Yeah, just them.
Yeah, just Clippers.
But I always feel so rushed in telling the story because I'm so used to, in sport, there's just so little limited time. And for me, trending this and making impact in sport for all these years, I've learned like I've got like this minute, and it's a really special minute. So anytime anyone asks me what yoga is, I'm like, oh no, here we go. Just like I start talking faster and I try to get it all out. But the essence of yoga, and it really does stem from yoga. Like I come from an athletic background, and I come from a marketing and a yoga background. But yoga for me wasn't safe for my body. And I was a typical tight athlete trying to compete in yoga, right? And so this is like years ago, and whatever like that yoga teacher was doing at the front of the room, or the person beside me, I was going to do it better than them, and I was going to do it harder than them. And, and I had that typical like athlete mindset. And what happened is I ended up hurting myself because the physical parts of yoga, in terms of like for tight bodies, like I have no business trying to put my legs behind my head or like stand on one finger, like all those things, right? But I always say the parts of yoga that got me interested were the breathing and the relaxation, because as an athlete, I was never really taught those things and the power of that. And so this is where my curiosity started. And I was like, why isn't there anything out there for bodies like mine who like this thing called yoga, but it's not good for my body?
So I've been really, really, really sore, like really sore, and I've been trying to do yoga poses, and it's not working.
Right.
Like it's not working, and I'm thinking I have to find something. And when you said that tight body, like that athletic, the tightness, and that's me, right?
Right.
I feel that, and I think a lot of people have that right now,
Yeah.
and I'm hoping that there's something that you could show us that will help with that. And I know that you have three components to yoga, so maybe you can. I know you just talked about the breath. What are the other two?
Yeah, so the biggest piece of the is the breath and relaxation in terms of how we sell this for recovery for sports teams and athletes. But what makes yoga complete unique is it's not poses. It's
Right.
movements that are cohesive to how athletes move and train. So it's all understanding three-dimensional movement and how we activate the kinetic chain and centralize movements within those three dimensions. So it's very sophisticated. We look at the human system and understand there's subsystems of the body. So how do we, because in pro sports, sometimes I have 10 minutes to make an impact in an athlete's body. So you have to understand how the muscular system, respiratory, circulatory, endocrine system, and how all the systems can integrate together to create impact. And so it's very scientific, the way that yoga has been created. And we start with breath, and then we start with neuromuscular movement, and then we go into respiratory, circulatory, then we end with the endocrine stuff and relaxation. So, and that's like right now, people, because they are stressed, it's like almost like nervous energy, right? And
Yeah.
so if
Mm-hmm.
people are, you say to somebody, oh, like just sit and meditate, like who's going to be able to do that right now, right?
No.
Your mind's racing. You've got all this pent up energy in your body because we're used to moving like, at 20 miles a minute, right? And
Yeah.
so the worst thing you can say to somebody right now to calm their nervous system is to sit and meditate, because that's going to cause more anxiety and more stress, right?
Plus,
So
of kids.
what's that?
And plus, a lot of people have a house
Yeah,
full of children.
yeah,
So
house
like,
full of everything.
I could not find 5 seconds to meditate. Every time I'm live,
Yeah,
I count my blessings that it's quiet in here. I'm like, oh, it's still quiet. It's
yeah.
fantastic. My photo bombed us yesterday. So I'm hoping we have our quiet time right now. So yeah, so finding meditation is difficult, would be difficult for a lot of people for many different reasons. But moving and trying
Right.
to learn how to relax may be skillful, but it might be something that we could try to help people with.
Yeah, no, and I think like, I always everyone interprets meditation as something different, and I did a live meditation last night. And again, everything that I've done with yoga is created it so it's digestible and understandable by the Western user, right? Like
Okay.
I always say, like yoga wasn't designed for athletes getting hit at high speeds by like with lots of impact, right? It was designed for people to get their bodies all bendy so they could sit cross-legged and sit in meditation and contemplate. Well, that's not really functional for Western society. So
Right.
with
But
even
yoga, but yoga also, it's not just for athletes, right? We want to let people, it's not just for athletes.
oh God, no, the
Right.
premise of it was designed for athletes, being that I came from an athletic background. But what we're learning is we have so many physiotherapists and chiros taking our course and implementing this as back to play modality in their care. So there, because it's about the kinetic chain and teaching people how to move, oh my God, everybody can benefit from it. It's just that's where we land. That's where we live in sport. And so that's for us from our brand perspective, that's where we're at. But yoga is good for everybody,
And
1000%.
you have, I was reading, you have how many yoga instructors now? Over 300 certified yoga
I,
instructors?
I over 400 now
Oh,
internationally.
400.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And
So
it's worldwide?
worldwide, yeah, primarily North America. We just launched in the US a few years ago, so we're really excited about that. We're focused in LA and New York right now because that's where a lot of the sports teams are and where we have our relationships. But we have somebody joining our training in a few weeks from Germany, from Japan, Australia. So it's just cool to see. And with this COVID situation and what we're in right now, it literally forced me to pivot my business within 72 hours and launch everything online. Like it's crazy. Like my schedule tomorrow is like, you know, Rockets, Clippers, Devils, like it literally from 8 to 4 every single day.
Just to
Like
name a
we're
few.
jammed. What's that?
Just to name a few.
Just to name a few. And then
Just a
all
few.
of, but and all my coaches are training as well. So it's just and fantastic. And we're launching a really exciting thing next week that I can't wait to share for youth athletes. So we're going to be doing some cool stuff there because we don't know how long we're going to be here for, you know,
Right.
let's
We
face
don't
it.
know.
When you
This
said there was a week left, I was like, did I miss something?
no, 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 not at all. Not a week left. Weeks. There could be many,
Weeks.
many, many, many weeks of this. What are some
Yeah.
of the secrets that you can share or some of the tips that you've
About
been
about
dealing
what?
with? Like
Oh,
just getting by, like in isolation for people who, you know, I've been speaking to so many different people in healthcare and in health and wellness, and they all have these pearls of wisdom that they're sharing, and it could be simple,
mhm.
um, but they're always pearls of wisdom. I call them secrets, but I guess they're tips.
Yeah, well, I think I have to rewind because when I first heard about this, we had a family trip booked to Mexico, and I was like everyone else. I was disappointed that I had to cancel my, you know, family vacation to Mexico. You know, I had 6 months of like speaking engagements, you know, flying all over the world.
Wow.
Because this year was like a Janna Webb year. You know, I focused so many years on my business and building the brand. And so this year was a Janna Webb year. And then all of that got canceled. And I, you know, stomped my feet and probably did what everybody else did, had my cry and
Yep.
all of those things until a team reached out to me and they're like, hey, is there any way you could train our players online? And I was like, yep, sure is. I don't know how,
Amazing.
but we'll figure it out. And then that led me to, oh my gosh, I've got to do something. So for me, I guess I've been really busy and very fortunate because, you know, I guess, one of the teams ignited this idea for me that I had to get my business online. So I've been working hard for 4 weeks straight. And so
Yeah.
for me, the silver lining in all of this is because usually I am on an airplane and I'm flying around and I'm never settled and I'm never home. It's
Mm.
been a blessing in disguise because it's enabled me just to get grounded, get in my business, train, help other people. Some people have budgets, some don't. It doesn't even matter. It's just about like doing what I'm doing right now and giving that to, you know, to the world. So
I love this idea about finding your superpower, whatever that may be,
yeah,
and really having like a moment to, you know, figure out what it is that makes you you, and whatever your superpower may be. It could be your give back.
yeah,
Like for me, it's connecting. And so having conversations like this is my give back to people, hoping to help them through this time. Yours, as you just said, you're finding out that really being able to do what you do online for so many people has
yeah.
really helped so many people. And I was also reading that you were talking about your live meditation last night. You do offer yoga classes online, so people can find you online.
Yeah, we have. Well, we just launched. Well, I launched on FitPlan, so that's the app that I'm on. So you can download the app, and it's like 50% off right now. So it's like $3 a month, and it's not just me; it's celebrity trainers from all over the world. So that's
Called
cool.
Fit Plan.
FitPlan app, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, and then today we also just partnered with Samsung, so you can do like yoga from your living room everywhere. I also have programs online. We've got coaches online. Like you can do yoga. Everybody could do yoga right now.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah.
I'm hoping people will go online and they'll find this and they'll find you, so they can really look at this as part of their health system right now, because it's one of those things that you can incorporate into your day. And
Yeah.
I'm a believer in this. I do yoga all the time, and as I said to you, I'm super sore. I
Yeah.
can't get this pain. So I'm hoping to find that thing that
The
is
thing.
going
Oh, it
to
might be yoga.
it.
Yoga.
I'm thinking. So I know that your time is limited, but I'm hoping that you could show us maybe one, two, maybe even if we're lucky, three poses that you think will
You know,
help.
I wasn't set up for this. Sorry, I've just been Zooming all day, so I'm literally just on my iPhone right now, and
Yeah, you can
yeah,
tell me.
yeah.
I can try it. I'm on my mat. Here,
What's
I'll show you.
that?
I'm on my mat. I'll show you. There, I'm on my mat. See? I'm
There
on
we
my
go.
mat.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So yeah, it's very different. So we're not going to be lying down.
Oh, okay. Back up. Here we go. Yep.
Yeah. Let me try to figure out how I'm going to do this. Sorry.
That's okay. It's great. See, I've been sitting cross-legged, as you said, and it hurts.
Yeah, no, it's like I can't even, you asked me to sit on a mat and I'm like, oh yeah, I can't do that. I can't even sit cross-legged. There we go. Can you
Really?
see me?
Yeah.
All right, let's
Wait,
see.
why can't you sit cross-legged?
Because my hips are too tight.
Yes, that's how I feel
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. Right? It's like
Can I
painful.
can I ask you about your app before I forget? If you could
Yeah.
tell us more about it's just want you to keep telling people the name because I want to
Oh,
talk
yes. It's called Fit Plan app.
Fit
And
Plan app, okay?
yeah, Fit Plan underscore app. So you just download it. And yeah, I can put a link on maybe on the website here,
Yeah.
or I'll ask the doctor or
Yeah.
send that out.
Yeah.
And we can send out the promo code so everybody gets 50% off. I
That's
don't know if you
amazing.
can see me, but can you see
I
me
can.
from? Okay.
Yeah.
So one of our big programs is called the Fire Starter. So again, we look at like kinetic chain. And so we're never going to do tree posture in yoga, right? Have you ever seen a basketball player stop mid-court and do tree posture? Yeah,
No.
no, right. So no postures, movements. So a lot of athletes obviously work on one leg, right? So if you think about a hockey player that's about to shoot a puck, this is a position, the end position, right? For when they make their shot or catch a pass, whatever. So we work a lot on one-legged stabilization. Are you gonna do this with me, or are you just gonna make me like do this and demonstrate?
I'm gonna watch you first.
Oh, of course you are. Of
I'm
course
watching
you
you
are.
first.
So one of our signature moves is we start with both legs in flexion and then we extend out of it. So all we're trying to do here, we look for pelvis symmetry and shoulder symmetry. So most athletes are asymmetrical in their cross pattern due to repetition. And what we know about that is overcompensation. That leads to overcompensation, what leads to overusage, which lends to injury. So we're always looking for stabilization and symmetry in the pelvis and the shoulder as we move through these three dimensions. So right now we're in the sagittal plane, right? Working just flexion extension. And then what we do is we fatigue the glutes and the quads and all the big muscle groups. So now when we focus on stabilization and a slow twitch, we can really start to build VMO around the knee. So the purpose of this movement is to stabilize the foot and the knee joint. And then we come up. So right now, like my foot and my ass is on fire. So I'm really working hard to hold this position.
I'm
And what
trying,
that
but I
does,
don't.
and what this does is it forces you to recruit all of the stabilizers in your foot and your knee.
Okay.
So try. So yeah, come into like an airplane position.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bring your arms out. And we think of that kinetic chain. So your back foot is dorsiflex. Flex. So your feet and your hands are always active, like ready to play.
Yeah.
And then you're going to bend both knees. You're going to tap the knees together. And
Yeah.
then you're going to inhale and you're going to extend out of it, straightening both legs. So you bend both knees.
Whoa.
Yeah. And you do like 5 reps of that. And then we hold, and then we go into a second movement, which is flexion extension. So you fatigue, then we stabilize, then we add different planes of movement. Then we'll add rotation, and we'll go to the transverse plane, etc.
If anybody
Yeah.
has any questions for Janna, please feel free to ask away, because I know people were really excited to see you today and had some questions for you about staying healthy during this time, staying limber, feeling better.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific eating plan that you follow?
I'm one of these people who I just was lucky enough to, I think what breathing in this type of program does is it makes you aware. So you start to learn like what makes you feel good and what doesn't. And I think that's really important for people, is like educate yourself, like we're always like online and like so much content, right? How do you like move through all that content and figure out what's good for you? The only thing you can do is eat food and see how you feel, And so I think I've spent a lot of my life just figuring that out for myself. Like if I eat like a bag of candy, I feel like crap afterwards, right? And so for me, and same like if I eat a big bowl of pasta, like I just don't feel good. I feel heavy and lethargic. So for me, a very like protein, vegetable based diet, like fruits and vegetables, nuts. So I guess you would call it paleo. Some people would call that paleo. But that's just what works for me. That's what makes me feel good. So I eat to feel good. Yeah.
I feel like the time sitting on your couch and binging on Netflix has kind of come and gone.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we're in a different stage now, like
Yeah.
of COVID and being in isolation and a lot of people in quarantine. But I feel like we're in this new wave now where people started their week saying, you know what, I am not spending the next week on my couch
Right.
watching a show. I'm just
Right.
not doing it. Like, I've got to figure out something that's going to make me feel better. I'm
Yeah.
not going to do it. And I've heard from a lot of people that they just have turned a corner. Like, that's just not something they want to do anymore. And
Awesome.
they could download your app, they could
Yeah.
check out your website. There are a lot of things that people can do to
Yeah.
find
Well,
out.
and last night in my meditation, like again, my meditations are very understanding like neuroscience and what we think about and how that impacts like how we feel in our physiology and then how that makes us react, right? And so, I talk a lot about mindfulness. And so in my meditation last night, and this is just something for people listening right now as a kind of recap, we just like talked about like thoughts as being I always look at like a garden and I'm like, your thoughts that aren't good for you are just like weeds in the garden, right? You can't grow your garden and have beautiful flower bed if there's weeds everywhere. So like find what those thoughts are. They're weeds, pull them out, like acknowledge them, but just like get rid of them. And then
Love
fuel
that.
that and fuel that garden with new seeds, right? Like this is the time to seed and to germinate. But I always say, like, if you want to grow something, you can't just like plant the seed and then leave it. Like you need to like water it and you need to pay attention. So I'm like, right now is a really good time for people to seed some ideas, right? And like go through like what is it that you've been wanting to do? Find that creative energy, and for everybody that could be different, right? Find your power. Like what is it about you that you're good at, and remind yourself of those things and seed those things. And like, what do you love? What makes you happy? Like, how do you want the world to hear you? How do you want your family to hear you? And I think like we start to wrap our heads around all of the things that we already have inside of us, and we seed more of those positive thoughts and those intentions and those ideas, you just cultivate, you know what I mean, this landscape that is completely different for yourself,
I love
right?
that.
And that's what we can do right now.
Hmm.
That's what people can do. So
Love that.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really That's a beautiful thought. I'm going to be thinking about that. That's my takeaway. Sure,
Okay.
that in
Think
my
of
burning quad. But somebody had just asked about fruit, and we're not talking about food per se. Someone said how much is too much fruit a day, but I'm wondering how much is too much movement a day. How much is too
mm.
much exercise a day? Would you say? What would you think
Ah,
is too much?
too much? Oh my gosh. Like again, it's about gauging yourself. For every person, that answer is going to be different, right? It's
Okay.
always about threshold. So it's like whatever your threshold is, if you wake up and you can't move the next day, like you can't make one step, you've done too much. So again, it's like having your own barometer for yourself, right?
I'm
Whereas
so guilty. Maybe that's why I'm in so much pain.
why you can't
Really?
move? You've been working too hard.
Well, I'm just, yeah, well, I walk every day.
Yeah.
That's just something that I do for fresh air and for Zen.
Yeah.
And I've been, I've been working out. I've been trying new things because I just want to be, yeah.
Yeah, which is awesome. And I say to people like work out a lot, but like what I do is recovery. And so if you're working out all the time and you never give your body the chance to recover, you will never make those gains. Like you won't feel different, you won't look different because your body's in the state of that reptile survival brain, right? Stress. So if you're working out 7 days a week, that's the worst thing you can do for yourself. You need to give your body a chance to repair and rest and promote human growth hormone and DHT, youth hormone. Like these are the things that our body creates on its own when we're in this restful relaxation state. So, step one, gauge for yourself how you feel. I can't, people, I'm always saying to people, they're like, what's the answer for this? And I'm like, you have the answer.
That's
Just like
great. Thank you.
ask
Mhm.
yourself the right questions, right? Like how much fruit do you eat in a day? Like, I don't know, like I think fruit is good for you. I eat a lot of fruit, but
Me too.
if it's making you, up, stay up at night because there's so much sugar in it, then like maybe address that, right? So, for everything, I'm just, I try to make people accountable. Like my job in pro sports is I have to make athletes accountable for their bodies. I say to them, you make $25 million a year on your body. And you're telling me you don't know where your pubis bone is? Come on, man. Like, let's go. Like, because we
I
use that,
love it.
we use that as a cue, right? To find fundamental, like, lower lumbar stabilization. So I'm not afraid to talk to them in this manner because I'm like, take your body seriously. This is how you earn your living. And for all of us, like, this is what we got. So
As
take yourself a little
soon
more serious.
as soon as COVID is done, I'm heading down to. You're in Yorkville in Toronto.
Yeah.
I'm
I
heading
know.
down.
Yeah, no, I closed my studio.
Oh,
So I had to close it. Yeah.
there's no studio now. It's just all online.
It's all online.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll meet somehow. We'll
Yeah, we
meet somehow.
will.
I for sure.
I do power walk every day like yourself. I go for my 10-kilometer circle in the beach here, and for me
Wow.
that's like my meditation as well.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's not too much. I always am promoting that for people because they're always asking me, "What do you do to stay healthy?" And I said, "You've got to start with a nice walk,
Right?
start breathing, and breathing and air, right?
Air.
That's
And it's
that's.
cleaner right now. See, another positive.
Is this? Have you heard the birds?
Yeah. I don't know if you watch my Instagram. So I'm obsessed with this family of swans that lives in the beach. And so I've been following them and tracking them for years. And every year they come back and they have their eggs and she sits on her nest and the male goes around and ruffles his feather. And I'm always like, oh, he's so big and look at him protect her. And then the second thing is I always feel like I'm like, that's my spirit animal because like underneath, like I know they're like paddling away, and then up top, like everything, they're so graceful and poised because I feel like that, like I'm a swan. I'm like
Maybe
the undercurrent is so messy and so disgruntled, but then on top, I'm like, hi,
that's you, right?
yeah, I'm a
Maybe a lot
swan,
of people feel right now. Maybe.
right? Maybe.
Tell us one more time before I let you go, because I know you're so busy.
No
Tell
problem.
us how people can find you, because I'm going to get just hit with tons of questions. How do we find Janna? How do we find Janna? So
So
tell us once again how we find you.
Instagram's probably the easiest. My handle is
Yep.
Joga Janna, and me or somebody from my team responds to everybody. So we will definitely get back to you.
Okay.
Yeah, and Joga World, we have a training coming up May 6th to 9th. If anyone's interested in becoming certified and on our roster, that's cool. Something to do while you're in COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say just hit me up on my Instagram, and that's probably the easiest.
It was so nice to meet you this way and to speak to you and get your pearls of wisdom. And I hope everybody checks out Joga, because it sounds like really that next level that a lot of people are looking for and to feel good. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for that.
Oh, thank you. And is it Dana or Dana? It's Dana, right?
Dana.
Oh, it's Dana. I thought we
I know.
rhymed. Darn.
I know. You know
It
what?
looked like it.
My parents left out the Y in Dana.
Okay.
A lot of people call me Dana, but it's Dana.
Okay.
It's Dana. Yeah,
Okay.
that's me.
Okay.
Thank you so
Nice to
much.
meet you. Yeah,
Nice to meet you. Be well, feel good, and good
Thank
luck with
you.
everything.
Okay, thanks so much. Have a good
Okay.
night.
You
Bye.
too. Bye now.